Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today I wanted to sit down and talk about 10 patterns that I think would be perfect autumn makes. I don't know if I can explain why these scream autumn to me, or if it's just the type of thing I'm feeling the itch to cast on now that we are starting to get into autumn. But I thought I would sit down and share the 10 patterns that I just think are cozy and autumnal and would make perfect projects for this time of year. I've broken them down into some categories. I do have a couple of them that I've already made before, so I can share little samples of them with you. And then other ones are just patterns that have been on my horizon or in my favourites for a while that they're just calling to me at the moment. So let's start with a hat pattern. This is the Toasted Mallow pattern by Shannon Larson. It is a really simple, really fun hat pattern. I will pop it on for you quickly. I finished this one relatively recently, and it is a pattern that uses 4-ply held with fluff. So I used Surrey alpaca in this case because I am allergic to mohair, so I steer clear of it. So this uses, 100 grams of 4-ply and 100 grams of fluff, and it's super cozy, perfect for those slightly colder evenings when you just need something to take the chill off slightly. This one uses, this pattern has a 4-inch rib, so it's a nice folded rib to keep your ears cozy, and then it is kind of a basket weave texture, which is just a mix of knits and pearls, but it creates this gorgeous kind of textured hat pattern that I think looks really nice. Now, obviously the name Toasted Mallow has that kind of feeling of autumn. It makes me think of like toasting marshmallows on a campfire, which for some reason makes me think of autumn. I think it gives me feelings of like bonfire night and that kind of thing, which is what kind of leans me towards autumn with this one. My little sample here was knit using one of my silky hat kits. I do these hat kits in the shop where you get 100 grams of 4-ply and 50 grams of fluff that are perfect for any kind of hat pattern, and they come with a little list of pattern suggestions on the back as well, which is very handy. Anyway, this is the first pattern that I think would be a perfect autumnal knit. Next up is the Cowl of Mini Colours by Lisa K. Ross, and this one just looks like a really cozy cowl to put on underneath a big coat at this time of year. I love a cowl for that kind of thing because you don't have to deal with the shawl ends slipping and all of that kind of thing, and this one has got that kind of triangular shawl look that I really like, but in a cowl kind of format. It uses 8 mini skeins, and I think it would work well with any kind of like mini skein fade that you might have, or even just like random dribs and drabs of scraps left over in your stash. I think it would work really nicely in those, and I just think it would make a really cozy kind of, as I said, shawl kind of style cowl to be able to wrap up with in the colder months. You could obviously tailor your colour palette with this to the season as well. You could pick out minis that were a mix of reds and browns and oranges and things like that and go for a really autumnal colour palette. You could pick out Halloween colours. This could be one that would work really nicely with maybe a Halloween countdown that you've had in the past. Again, you need 8 minis for it instead of 13, but I often find that I can pick and choose a few minis from a fade of that kind and then pop the others aside for something else later on. In fact, you could probably, with 8 minis, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, with 8 minis from a 13-day kind of countdown of that kind of thing, you would actually end up with 5 colours left over, which would work really nicely, and you could maybe make yourself a pair of like fingerless mitts or gloves or something like that that would coordinate from the rest of the colours in the Halloween countdown, and that might be quite fun, of like turning that kind of countdown into a combination of projects that you would wear together at the same time. So yeah, the Cowl of Mini Colours I think would be a really fun knit that you could tailor if you wanted seasonal colours, or you could just have it because you want to wear it during the season, which I think is the way that I would go with it, definitely. Next up, we have another cowl. This is the Indira cowl, and this is another one held with fluff, and I have an example of this one. So this is the Indira cowl here. It is gorgeous. It's 4-ply, again, held with the Surrey alpaca. I think the original pattern was written to be held with the mohair, but with the longer Surrey alpaca that we have nowadays, the 400-meter base, it's equivalent anyway, and it doesn't make me sneeze. Which is always good. This one features a really lovely textured section, as well as nice big cables as well as a feature in it, and it would be a super cozy cowl, again, to kind of just wrap. I could take it off here and actually put it on, couldn't I? A super cozy cowl, again, to just kind of wrap around your neck in a coat and keep you really warm and cozy in the colder months. This one actually feels autumnal because of the colours that I've chosen for it with the dark green, but you could, again, any combination of fluff and 4-ply would work really, really well for this. It uses 1 skein of 4-ply and 1 skein of fluff, so again, this is something you could get out of a hat kit probably, and that would work really, really nicely. But it's just going to be super cozy and super warm and perfect for wearing to go and see the fireworks on bonfire night or something like that. Going out trick-or-treating with your kids on Halloween. Another cozy project. Next up, I have got some jumpers. I don't have samples of any of these ones, but they're ones that have been on the horizon for me, and they just scream kind of autumn knits, like things I really want to be wearing at this time of year, things I want to be working on at this time of year. First up, we have the Karamelli sweater, which is a pattern by Veera Valimaki. This is gorgeous. This looks super cozy. I love stripes. Stripes keep me going when I'm knitting. I feel like this is something that I would really get through quite quickly. The only reason I haven't cast one on is because I don't have a lot of DK stash, and I feel like I would need to buy yarn for this or dye up my own yarn specifically, and I've kind of just not done that. I could 100% make this with 4-ply held double, and that would work really, really well and be really easy. And actually that might be the way I go with it and make my own DK out of 4-ply held double. That is something I really like to do. I probably wouldn't marl multiple colours together. I'd probably just stick with like 1 skein of yarn marled with itself and do multiple different colours in the stripes. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm trying to say there? I feel like I've mangled my words in that sentence entirely. But it looks super cozy. I think it would work up relatively quickly being DK, and I feel, again, like you could tailor it to your own colour palette so easily with these stripes that you could knit yourself an autumnal one if you wanted to, or you could go for more kind of spring kind of colours, or just whatever colour palette you tend to gravitate towards on a daily basis. So mine would probably end up being blues, purples and pinks, to be completely honest, because they're the colours I tend to gravitate towards. But I just think it looks super cozy and really, really autumnal. The next jumper I've got here is the Terranova by Tanis Lavallee. This again is a DK jumper, and I feel like this one's calling me for autumn because the picture shows that green colour. But I have had this on my horizon for absolutely ages. I actually have yarn caked up for it, although I think I am a skein or 2 short because it's DK and I didn't quite set myself aside enough, which is why it hasn't got cast on. But hopefully I will find some time in November to dye up some more of the yarn, and then I can get this cast on. There's something about cables as well that just, I think cables scream autumn to me, and I think it's because they make me think of like those big Aran cabled sweatshirts and cozy jumpers, and I don't know what it is. There's just something about cables that really does scream autumn to me. So this lovely cable that goes down the raglan and down the side of the jumper just really puts me in mind of this kind of season. Next up, we have Skylights, which is also a pattern by Tanis Lavallee, and this one again has been in my favourites for a while, ever since I saw Erin of Henny Penny Makes wearing her version of it and fell in love immediately. This is actually a bulky weight sweater, and I think the original pattern is knit with Aran held with lace weight fluff. But I feel like if I was making it, I would probably make up the bulkiness of it by mixing a few different types of strands together, similarly to what I did in this Aquamarine. This one is again a bulky weight sweater, and I used a strand of DK held with 2 strands of fingering weight to make this one. And I think that that's probably what I would do to do the Skylights one. I feel like I would maybe hold DK with I think I would probably hold 3 strands of fingering weight. I think maybe I'd do 3 strands of fingering weight with a strand of fluff. I want the fluff in there, definitely. Maybe 2 strands of fingering weight and a strand of fluff. What would that be? DK plus a little bit. I think it's one that I would need to play with. I might need to gauge swatch a couple of different combinations to really get a feel. This pattern, the Aquamarine by Park Williams, not Mark Williams, does give you a breakdown of different ways that you can hold yarn together in order to make a bulky weight. So maybe I could refer back to that and get a feel for what combination of yarns I would want to put together in order to make the Skylights. But I feel like a scrappy Skylights would work really, really nicely, especially if you held it with like a pastel or an undyed fluff that would really kind of tone down the colours. I think it would work really, really nicely. And there's just something about that bulky jumper, again, that really kind of puts me in mind of autumn and colder, cosier evenings. Next up, we have a cardigan. This is the Campside Cozy by Alicia Plumber. Now, I have knit the Campside Cardi in the past, which I absolutely loved to death. It has multiple holes in it now. I have worn it so much, and I really want a new version, but I've been looking at this version instead. The Campside Cardi is a kind of oversized version, and it's got like a more of a wraparound effect to it, and then you also have like a tie that you can tie around the waist. It's a DK weight pattern, and I think it's absolutely gorgeous. Now, obviously it puts me in mind of autumn because it's called the Campside Cozy. Like, you couldn't get more autumnal in a name than that, really, could you? At all. But I really do think that this would be a really lovely kind of throw-on cardigan, especially at this time of year, sort of September time of year, where we're starting to get colder, but we're maybe not winter jacket cold yet. We're maybe like, oh, I could go out in a light jumper, but actually I just need something a little bit extra. You know, the layering season where we need that little bit of extra warmth, but maybe not quite all the knitwear yet. And I feel like this would be a really good like addition to my wardrobe for this time of year. I have put a pair of socks on this list. These are the Homebody socks, which are a pattern by Helen Stewart, and they are DK socks. I have not yet knit DK socks, but I definitely feel like I want to. I have a couple of skeins of DK sat aside that are a merino nylon base, so they would be perfect for socks, and I really, really want to knit some really comfy, warm DK socks, and this pattern looks perfect. I could just knit myself some socks, but I really feel like I need a pattern because I haven't got a clue like how many stitches I would cast on for DK and things like that. So this seems like a really good place to start to kind of work out what number of stitches I need in order to make them fit me and everything like that. And I feel like the little cabley effect in these and the rib effect in these would make super cozy socks. So yeah, DK socks I think would be my definite go-to as a perfect autumn make. Last off, we have a couple of shawls. First off, this is the Pierre shawl by Stephen West. This has been on my radar for a fair while. I can't quite remember when it released, but it was a good number of years ago now. It is a DK weight shawl, and I believe it calls for 5 colours dyed in some kind of fade. I was looking a while back at some John Arbon yarn for this, some of their Knit by Numbers DK. I have a couple of shawls made out of that yarn, and I absolutely love it. And I can't remember why, but anyway, I kind of got talked out of it at the time. And I really regret not having just bought the yarn there and then, because I feel like if I had, I would would probably have this shawl by now, and I didn't buy the yarn in the end, and I really wish I had, because I still think that would have been a really, really good combination to make this shawl. But it's a massive shawl, it's enormous. As I said, 5 skeins of DK, although in true Stephen West fashion, I suspect you would have quite a lot of leftovers in some of those colours, but it would be amazing and cozy. And I feel like the way that it's knit with what I'm assuming from the picture is brioche in there would add to the coziness. There's something about brioche that is just so squidgy and warm, and that texture is just absolutely lovely. So again, this is one that I definitely think would be a really, really perfect kind of autumn winter shawl to wear, and making it at this time of year would also be just really pleasant. Finally, we have one last shawl. This is the Mathilda shawl by Lisa Haynes. And isn't it gorgeous? It features these massive like cables on them. It is again a DK weight, but it's fingering weight held double, I believe, in the pattern, or it says it's a fingering weight and a light fingering weight. I think they were using a kind of a slightly thicker mohair, but you would absolutely be able to do this with a kind of 4-ply held with a lace weight fluff, and I think that would give you the DK, or you could just knit it in a DK. It says in the pattern that the gauge is not important for this. I mean, because you're not necessarily looking for it to fit in a particular way. You could definitely play with different yarn weights to kind of make up your DK. I feel like it would be lovely in a solid, a bit like this one, in a solid and a solid, basically. I think it would work really, really nicely and be really, really pretty. I really think, again, it's that feeling of the cables. There's something about the cables that just make me think of autumn and just draw me into that cozy season. I really like the texture on this as well. I suspect it's one that I would struggle to knit, because knowing how my brain works, I think it's one that I would really, really struggle to get through. It involves a lot of concentration, and I don't always do well with knitting that involves a lot of concentration at the moment. But the finished object would be absolutely fantastic and so, so pretty. So there we go. Those are 10 patterns that I think would be perfect for autumn projects. Let me know in the comments if you've made any of these patterns before. Do you have any other patterns that scream autumn to you? And if you've got this far in the video, then why not leave me the falling leaves emoji to highlight the start of autumn. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye.